Been jotting some notes myself, gentlemen. So, all right. Where do you see our police services in the future? A joint PD with the village, a town WPD that contracts out to the village, or a sole town WPD only?
Great question. I can tell you that I was passionate about keeping our PD local and not going with the sheriff's department. And I want to move forward as such. In other words, I said earlier, I think it's important that we support the police chief that we have, the new chief. I think he's got a lot of work ahead of him, and the board needs to actively support him on that. I think we need to know what the right size is for our police force. And also, as I've said earlier, I think we need to look at a collaboration between the village and the town. And I see in the future where we could possibly have a one PD that is that's a true shared resource. I believe right now, we send a bill to the town. I don't know if we send it monthly or if it's annual, and saying, hey, we had 2 officers here over this period of time, here's your bill. That's not the relationship I would like to see us moving forward with the village. I would like to see a better collaboration with the village and have the village have an active input in how the police force is developed, especially if we're going to look towards true collaboration. So again, to reiterate, I'm in support of the town police department. I'm against any kind of outsourcing to the sheriff's department in the county, and I'm open to further collaboration with the village towards a one PD in the future.
I'm also strongly in favor of the Waterford Police Department, keeping the Waterford Police Department and the track that it's on right now. I have a tremendous amount of confidence in Chief O'Neill. I was involved in hiring him, and I've worked with him since he's gotten on board. He has a big job to do, and we need to support him in every way we can to help get him there. From a strategic perspective, going back to many of the things that we've already mentioned here, I think the strategic answer is for the town and the village to collaborate together and create one police department. That is what makes sense, and that would set a significantly important tone for both of these communities in terms of how we move forward. What we're doing right now, it's suboptimal, and there's an opportunity, and it shouldn't be that hard, to create a combined police force. We've got a leader in place who I have confidence in, and I think could do a tremendous job in leading such an entity. So I think the opportunity is there. I would like to see it move faster. I would like to see it move more intentionally forward and make it happen.
Well, I'm a strong supporter of the police department, that's for darn sure. First of all, I want to thank Eddie over there for the fine work he's done on our police committee. You know, we got a police chief that walked into a quagmire. And this man has taken the bull by the horns and done one heck of a job, in my eyes, establishing a police department. It's going to move forward. And I'm all for a combined police department, 150%. Let the people that know that business do that business. We don't have any, as a board, they picked, everybody picked our chief. And we gotta honor that commitment and let him do his job. And I think he's doing one hell of a job. I'm gonna support him any way I can. And that includes, I'm gonna be doing some fundraising with a couple other people to get our police department a little less stressed out on money. So that's where I sit on it.
Being on the police committee, we did interview the candidates, including the chief, which we made the recommendations to the town board. We are going to be having a meeting in the near future with the village to discuss having a joint department. Right now, there's been a second phase of a document that the village has looked at. It still needs a lot of work. We need to hammer it out, but I believe we can have a joint department. We're already working to that point. Right now, We have a contract with the village, and I believe it is up June 30th of this year. Hopefully by that time, we can have a joint department in place where it will be run by a police commission and not by either municipality. They will have people on that board, but they will not have input. The police commission will run it. They will actually come up with a budget and share it to the different municipalities.
So again, I am a big fan of the police department. And if you think about it, Chief O'Neill's been in here 4 months. It's not long. I think we have to have a little patience for everything to kind of start getting back on track. And I think a joint police department would be ideal, as long as it's for the town, means we have the same coverage we have now. I'm not for a joint police department and then we're covered less. I think we can't skimp on our police force. I think that's something we need to make a concerted effort to support all the way around. And I do really love the idea of a police commission too. I think it's, rather than an administrator calling the shots or a committee calling the shots, I think a commission would be the perfect thing to move it forward.
All right, perfect segue into the next question. Sometimes these just kind of fall into our lap. Do you agree with the idea of a police commission? Why or why not?
I think Phil said that great. I mean, a police commission is an independent entity that I think is going to focus, give the subject matter the level of focus that it needs to have. You wouldn't have this split arrangement of police committees and administrators and other entities all weighing in. You have a chartered body exclusively focused on running the police department and overseeing it, and that is the way that it should be done.
I agree with Tom 100%. I'm not going to drag it on. We need to move forward in an expeditious manner and get things done, and the police commission is one heck of a way to get it going.
The only way to have a joint department is have it run by a police commission. You can't have either municipality. It has to be a commission that has no ties to either and looks at the overall issue, makes up the budget, works with the people, does disciplinary action. It's up to them. It would not be up to the boards.
Well, I think I said it in the last one, but I think a commission is the way to go because it's impartial, and it also keeps the rumors from like, oh, so-and-so's getting this because of that. And I think it just keeps everything impartial and everything run tip-top and par.
Unfortunately, previous town boards did a horrible job, in my opinion, of managing and dealing with the police department. It looks like there was a lot of HR issues and obviously a lot of poor planning. We knew ahead of time that the previous chief was retiring, and the board did virtually nothing to start interviewing and get a replacement well before the retirement took place. That was a big mistake. And then it carried forward with other HR issues coming up. Absolutely, I think a police commission is needed. It can address those issues. I think it can run the department much better than the board was running it previously. So I would be in favor of a police commission.
All right, Dave. What steps, if any, do you believe need to be taken to inform the people about the coming property tax reassessments?
Well, as I stated earlier, we got to get out to the public now what that means to them, how it takes place, how it works, and what it means. Most importantly, what it means. You know, it's going to be difficult on some, and we've got to take that into consideration, how, if possible, we can help them through something. Somebody bought a house in 2008 and hasn't been reassessed, okay? Wow. Now we're gonna come through and equalize their value? Man, that's a hard thing to take. I'm sorry. But it has to be done. How do we do it? Expeditiously, because we're under state mandate, because it wasn't done. We've got to do it expeditiously, and we've got to do it fairly, and we've got to have some empathy for town residents that this is going to affect in a negative way. And I mean that sincerely. What, as a town, can we do to help these people? We have people, widows, no husband, living on a fixed income, bought their house 30, 40 years ago. You know, they're going to be hurting. They're on fixed incomes. We have retired people on fixed incomes in this town. We have to have empathy for them, and as a town, look at a way to get them through here so they don't leave our community. They're assets.
Unfortunately, I'm one of those people that has had a house in this town since the house I'm in now since 1977. Being in the public, I do know that we're getting reassessed, and I know how that's going to affect me. But he's right. A lot of the people in the town do not know that, especially the elderly. I think maybe sending something out to each house, notifying what's going on ahead of time, and fairly soon, so they can start planning for it. You know, like you said, being on a fixed income, it's going to be a rather bit of a shocker. And these people don't know that. A lot of them are not on Facebook, so we need to send something out so they know that it's going to be coming. You know, all of a sudden somebody comes through and says, oh, your house reassessed, and they open their tax bill next year and they have a heart attack because they see it double. That's not fair, so we need to notify the people now.
I agree with that, but I don't think it should just be, it's gotta be everybody, because think about even people that escrow their taxes. If they see a $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 increase, they're gonna get their tax bill and go, oof. I think that we should definitely start communicating it now. And I mean, listen, it stinks to have to be reassessed, but it's law. We fell out of compliance. We have to do it. That's part of the process, and I think we just need to really hammer that home to everybody so nobody is taken aback by like, oh crap, look what happened.
We have a town assessor who's going to be retiring very soon. As a town board, we have to address this. We've got to get either another entity that can do the assessments in place, and we got to make sure that those assessments and the full assessments are being done on a recommended basis by the state for every 5 years. Waiting since 2008 to now do a final assessment is not the way to run the town and the tax base. I agree with what people have said here. We're going to have to inform the citizens of the town that this is coming. They need to have a better understanding. What it's not, in my understanding, it is not us raising revenue for the town. It's not a revenue raising activity. It's a leveling activity. And there's a lot of unfairness that's going on in the town with recent sales. So if my neighbor sold a house to Tom and his taxes were $6,000, and Tom thinks he's buying a house and his taxes are going to be $6,000, he gets an awakening surprise that his taxes are maybe $12,000, and my taxes are $6,000. When this leveling occurs, it's likely my taxes will go up. Perhaps Tom's will come down a little bit after buying the house. We owe that too to the new residents that have either built in the town or have purchased homes that were existing, and then all of a sudden got a unwelcome surprise for increased taxes, property taxes that they didn't expect.
All right, so it's been said, but communication is the key. By as many channels and forums and meetings and whatnot that we can have, so that we can inform the folks in the town as best we can in terms of what is happening. Dispel rumors like the one that Bill just mentioned, that, you know, people assume this is going to be some sort of big revenue grab for the town or whatever. Absolutely not the case. Unfortunately, the reality of this thing is that communication needs to both unpack how did we get here and what happened or didn't happen, and it has to describe where are we going and what are we going to do differently in the future. You have to address both of those things. And the reality of this situation, as I've learned this process, is the town was in compliance from 2008 to 2023. There was nothing out of compliance. There was no revaluations done because they weren't mandated or didn't have to do them, but the town was in compliance. That doesn't mean things were not getting out of whack in terms of valuation from neighbor to neighbor across the board over all those years, because they were. The reality of this is there's a natural inclination that people want to break bad about our assessor. Our assessor doesn't make the decision about when a revaluation happens. The town board makes that decision. The town board gives the direction to the assessor. The town board made the decisions for the last however many years about whether or not to address this issue. In 2023, we became out of compliant, and we now have to address the issue. And our hand is forced. Going forward, one of the things we cannot do, in my opinion, is to go back to doing what was done from 2008 to 2023, because that definitely did not work.
Okay, another question to dovetail with this subject. Explain why tax assessments will go up for some but not all. They're saying that everyone will pay higher taxes.
I think Tom pretty much answered it. People, the house might have been assessed at $300,000 on the water, and it sells for $1 million. Well, they're paying on $1 million now. Reassessments, like my house is going to go up. That house that's being assessed at $1 million might come down. So, like they said, it's going to be a leveling. It's going to be a shock for us people that have been here for a long time. But the people that have just moved into the area, it's going to level it out. So their neighbors are paying just like they are paying.
I really don't think you can explain it any better than that. I mean, it really is. That's the case.
Why is because the town board was not following the guidelines of the state and doing more full assessments in a regular basis. I believe the village has been. I think for years there's been a conversation in Waterford that, the village has higher taxes. They pay so much more in taxes. The reason probably is they were following the state guidelines and the town was not. As Tom alluded to, we can't afford to continue to operate that way.
Yeah, just to finish the thought on this, the unfortunate part about this, the unfair part about this, is that the approach that was taken since 2008 up till today actually built a false sense of security on the part of the people who have been here very long and haven't moved or haven't renovated or updated their house. They built a false sense of security that my tax bill was straight and level or hardly ever changed at all. And that was unfair to those people, in my opinion. And I will tell you, I've only been here since 2016, and I, quote unquote, benefited from this. I could never understand why my tax bill wasn't going up. Year after year after year. I didn't know. Now I know.
I'll just echo what everybody has said so far. But I still want to say this. There's a reason why it happened. That reason has been discovered. There's other reasons it's happened that are being not so much divulged. There's certain laws you got to follow as an assessor. Were they followed? I don't know. But there are things that happen that the state will tell you it's very hard to prosecute. And one of them is chasing sales. And I don't know if that happened here, but I'll tell you one thing, There's a reason I'm paying what I'm paying and my neighbor's paying half, if not less. And nobody's ever come through my house. All that I know is that I'm assessed at exactly what I mortgaged. How did that happen? Interesting question.
Right. All right, Phil. Should we have a fire district? Why or why not?